Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Power Season 4, Episode 3, which was titled The Kind of Man You Are. So let's go ahead and get started. I have one question to ask, and it has been bothering me, I think since last episode. Why won't Ghost tell Proctor that Angela was in Greg's apartment when he was there? I mean, after all she's done to him, he is still trying to protect her, or maybe it's strategic on when he's going to release information, but I'm just thinking, like, just tell them the information and hopefully they'll be able to figure out whether it should be used or shouldn't be used, or how they can move it in their favor. But don't just sit there on the information like you got a secret and you debating on whether or not you should tell the secret. So the feds are trying to act like the mafia. You know, they're rolling up people, snatching them off the street. And so they pull Julio, Dre, and Keisha and bring them in to question them and try and break them and see if they can get them to turn on Tommy, or admit that Tommy is Ghost, or whatever information that they have. And Julio and Dre, you know, they know the game and they know, you know, how not to reveal any information. And if there's no chance that they're going to be arrested, or the people aren't saying that, hey, we got this on you, that you keep your mouth shut. But Keisha, on the other hand, she's not hip to the game, and Angela played her like a fiddle, and she just slipped right into it. And I'm just like, girl, why you was sitting there? Why you didn't slap that heifer? Why you didn't spit in Angela's face? Why you didn't call her a name or something? Like, will y'all please stop just letting this woman get away with walking all over y'all and making you look like fools? So at the end of the day, Julio and Dre, you know, they made James St. Patrick look like a saint, you know, saying that he rescued them from the streets. You know, Julio was saying that he was in a gang, because I think Cooper, I think it was, that was interrogating him, and he brought up the fact that he had the I guess it's like the area code that they're representing, but it's like the numbers tattooed into his neck. And he told him that he knew that that was for some gang, you know, some street gang. And Julio, you know, he went right into character and said that, you know, he used to be in the gang and that James got him out of the gang. And then when they were talking to Dre, Dre was basically like he had just gotten out of prison, he didn't have a job, and that James was willing to give him a job and take a chance on him, and that the world needs more people like James St. Patrick who won't hold your past against you. So after Keisha was done, she went to Tasha's to let Tasha know what was going on. And so Sylvia and Proctor were there, and they let Tasha and Keisha know that what they were trying to do was to establish that Tasha and James were no longer together, and by doing that, they can now force Tasha to testify against Ghost, you know, when he goes on trial. Proctor believes that Tasha is going to break eventually in order to protect her kids. Like, she's not going to abandon them or go to jail behind them. And then when they were leaving, Proctor and Silver, you know, they were talking about how they need to get the DNA evidence thrown out, you know, whatever they can do to keep from having to get Tasha up on the stand. So Ghost meets with his attorney, Terry Silver, and Silver seems to be on his A game and has little patience for Ghost. And Ghost is like so simple-minded, it's not funny, and he wants to be found innocent but still trying to protect Angela, you know, which goes back to why he won't tell them that Angela was in that apartment. Proctor and Silver have pictures from the crime scene, and so they show the pictures to Ghost, and he notices that there was a phone. Remember, Sandoval planted the phone in Knox's apartment, and Ghost remembers that that phone wasn't there, but now it's in that picture. And so he points that out, and then Silver was like, well, do you have any proof? Can you prove that the phone was placed there? And of course, Ghost is like, no, I don't have any evidence. I'm just telling you that that phone wasn't there when I was searching the apartment. So then their second meeting with Ghost, he finally reveals that he was pulled over by Knox the night that Knox was killed, and that he told Angela about it. And once again, this goes to, why is he holding on information and not sharing it with his attorneys? So he still trusts Angela for some reason. It feels like if he protects her and keeps her secrets, you know, that everything's going to work out. So now Silva has to go and find proof of the stop because it wasn't logged into Knox's paperwork, you know, as far as what he did throughout the day. Tommy takes the kids to school for Tasha, and after Raina gets out the car, you know, he tries to talk to Tariq, you know, but Tariq is so doggone arrogant that he makes you want to just choke the crap out of him, you know, but Tommy is basically telling him that, you know, he didn't have his dad in his life, and he can testify that even though Ghost lies sometimes and you can't always trust him, he believes that Ghost didn't kill Greg Knox. But you know, Tariq, he got his head, got Canaan all in his head and feeding him a bunch of BS, and he feeling himself, so he don't want to hear anything that Tommy has to say. So Raina gets a text about her dad as she's walking into the school, and it's saying basically that he's getting the death penalty if found guilty in the murder of Knox. And so she's confronted by the white boy gang, you know, led by Ethan, who just seems to always show up at the wrong time. And so he tells Raina that he doesn't recall her dad saying that he was a murderer when he came in for career day. So Tariq walks up and jacks Ethan up and let him know he will leave him and his sister alone and get out their face. And so he walks out the building saying, you know, he's tired of the BS. And so Raina goes after him, and you know, Tariq won't talk to her and storms off. And across the street there's a guy photographing Raina because she stopped and started crying. It was like wiping her eyes and everything, and I was like, oh, poor baby. So Raina is basically the mini version of Tasha. She is learning early that loyalty is all that matters, and she better stand by her man no matter how dirty, criminal, or what he does. No matter what, have your family's back. And see, this show is exactly why I am not a ride or die girl. Like, I just can't ride with you because I ain't trying to die with you. But you know, Tasha is training up her daughter, you know, to be the same type of person that she is. Then we move on to Tracy, and they give him a, you know, sneak him a phone into the jail cell. And did you guys see that story on the news where the guy escaped from prison because he had like a cell phone, and then they sent the drone, and the drone dropped him some tools to break out the prison. I was just like, just too much going on in the jailhouse. So anyway, they give Tracy this phone, so he calls, I'm thinking this is lawyer or somebody, and he tells him that Tommy, you know, who Tommy is, and that so they tell him, you know, all the information they have on Tommy, and Tracy figures out that Tommy isn't Ghost, that is actually James who's Ghost. And so he decides to confront Ghost and extort him for money to pay for his wife's cancer medication in exchange for keeping the secret. And Proctor told Ghost to act like, you know, he was a coward while he was in prison, you know, but he broke the guy's arm, and Tracy told him, say, you know, that wasn't the move of, you know, a scared businessman. That was somebody who, you know, who's calculating and cold-hearted and used to the streets and know how to survive. So, you know, mess up, Mr. Ghost. I mean, I know the man was coming on to you in a homosexual way, but you got to remember what Proctor said and stay low-key. So Ghost, you know, he's so reactionary, and, you know, he basically confirms that Tracy is right. And I'm sure it will have some significance later, but Tracy, you know, he was saying that he only trusts Tommy to deliver the money to the wife. And so Ghost has to get $20,000 and have it delivered by Tommy to this address that Tracy gave him. And he says that they have to give $20,000 every week going forward in order for him to not sing a song and let everybody know that Ghost is really James St. Patrick. So I still think, I really still think that it's going to come out that Tracy is Tommy's dad. And it kind of goes into Tommy, you know, telling Tariq earlier in the show that he didn't know who his father was. So I'm thinking that those extortion payments are adding up So after a while, they aren't going to have any profit on all these drugs that they're selling, because Dre is paying Kanan and his crew $45,000 a week, and now Ghost has to hand over $20,000 a week to Tracy. And I'm thinking, like, how much money do they make a week pushing these drugs in the streets? I mean, is it like millions of dollars that they're making off of this? And who are all these drug addicts, and where are they getting the money from to pay for these drugs? Oh, and remember in the last recap, I was trying to figure out if Tracy was a serial killer or a hitman. So I guess he's both, because Proctor confirmed later on in the show that Tracy actually has killed like dozens of people, and he was the hitman for some drug family in Queens or something like that. So in their strategy meeting, John is pissed off that, after they pulled all these people in for questioning, that they didn't get any substantial information from the shakedown. And then Angela, with her ever annoying self, always wants to step in and save the day, so she throws into the conversation that her conversation with Keisha was productive and that they may have enough to force Tasha to testify. But then she's feeling some kind of way, because she's like, can we just threaten her and not really go forward? Because the kids have been through so much and we don't want them to be, put in the system. They've already lost their dad and now they're going to lose their mom. But John was like, that is not my problem. The kids just happen to be collateral damage based on the behavior of their parents. Then we have a meeting with John and Sandoval, and remember Greg Knox had the friend from Homeland Security named Bailey, so they're talking with him, and he's telling them that their whole case and the angle that they're taking is bullshit, and they are going in the wrong direction. And finally, someone who sees Angela for the snake that she is, and although he has it all wrong about her involvement, he says that he won't help them if they aren't willing to implicate Angela in Knox's murder and point her out as the mole in the case, because Knox wasn't the mole and he wants to clear his name. And although he's a very loyal friend, he better watch out for Sandoval, because he's going to eliminate him like he eliminated Knox when Knox figured out what was going on. And so he knows that Sandoval and Knox were talking on the phone the night that Greg was killed. But when John brought it up, about the conversation and how much did he know, he skimmed right over it and wasn't willing to give them any more information. So I'm kind of nervous for Bailey. So then he goes to see Angela and put her on notice that he thinks that she was the mole, and he plans to prove that she was the mole to clear Knox's name. And I think he hates Angela as much as I do, which is a great thing. And he told her that he's going to make sure that she goes to jail, even if James St. Patrick ends up dying from lethal injection for the murder of Knox. He doesn't care about any of that. He just wants Angela to get hers. And Bailey was a real busy man on the show. He's just like revealing. I don't know if he's revealing too much, if he's doing all this on purpose. But when he left Angela, he went and met with Cooper, and he's trying to get Cooper to help in proving that Angela is the mole. And he tells him about the recording where Tommy confesses that he killed Logos with Ghost. So then Cooper is like, okay, wait a minute, are you saying that Ghost isn't Tommy? And so then the guy is like, no. And then he asked him, like, did Tommy ever say who Ghost was, or that Angela was the mole? So Bailey pushed Cooper up to go see the judge and to see if there's a chance in hell that he will allow them to enter the recording in as evidence. And the judge doesn't play the radio. And I'm just like, I love the exchange that they had between each other, because the judge, I guess, had a shower. He had taken a shower or something, but he came in the office naked with a towel wrapped around him, and then while him and Cooper were talking, he was drying off and going all up between his legs, drying up the crack of his butt. And I'm just like, really? And Cooper, he was so nervous, like he wouldn't really make eye contact with him. And then as the judge is pretty much cussing him out, saying that, do you really think I'm gonna let you bring this bullshit, ineligible information, into the court case. You must be out of your mind. And the judge, he was just like, he had to come back. So he was coming back with him. And then Cooper was like, well, I guess I better F off. And then he was like, yeah, I think you better F off. And then Cooper left, and I kind of felt sorry for him, but at least he tried. And so, and the judge also pointed out to him that, so basically you coming in my office with this crap behind everybody else's back, like the rest of the team doesn't know what you're trying to do. So he was really like agitated, with Cooper and the rest of the team. So Sandoval goes to a bar to meet Bailey, and he's on a fishing expedition. So he kind of plays into the theory that Bailey laid out when he was talking to him and John earlier, and basically saying that, yeah, I thought Angela was the mole, and I was working to gather evidence, and then he's trying to find out what all evidence that Bailey has. And so the two agreed to discuss it further and talk about the tape further at a later time. But Bailey just he really, I don't know if he knows that Sandoval is up to no good or has something to do with it, because when Sandoval left, Bailey opened up his laptop and he had Sandoval's records up on the screen. So I think he may be now sensing that Sandoval has more to do with it than he thought. Then we move over to Tommy Crazy Behind It. He is just like all over the place. And Patar is concerned, that Ghost is bringing too much heat to the game. And then he lets Tommy know that Julio is missing in action and nobody's heard from him all day. So Tommy's trying to put together a poker game that's going to be a front for something else. And he doesn't have time for Patar, and his whining. And so he basically tells him that the shipment is going to be there in a day or two, and they got to figure out, how to get it out on the streets. And so he just needs time to think, but he needs Patar to get out his face so he can work it out. And so they agree to keep running the drugs through the club, because they still need to have money coming in. Then Tommy goes to see Keisha, and this girl is going to get them all messed up. So she's just running her mouth and just being team too much and telling too much information. So she tells Tommy, what Proctor and Silver said when they were at Tasha's, and she thinks that Tasha is going to flip, and she's starting, just whining and talking about, Tasha ain't gonna hold out, because she's gonna do whatever she has to do to protect her kids, and it's gonna get all them in trouble. And I'm like, girl, will you shut up? Because you are the weakest link. And if you keep fooling around with Tommy, he done already killed one woman that he loved, and he probably won't hesitate to kill you either. So you need to chill out, Miss Keisha. So Tommy, he just has too much pressure on him, and he's going to implode after a while. So Julio finally shows up and tells him about, being pulled in by the feds, and Julio wants them to chill out and stop pushing the drugs and just lay low until things cool down. But Tommy is moving full speed ahead. And I forgot to mention this when I was talking about them being pulled in. Why, when they were interrogating Julio, they said Julio, and Julio was like Julio with an H. So I think it just totally went over whoever was interrogating him, Cooper or Sandoval. He just totally went over their head. And then later we have a meeting between Tommy and Proctor, because Proctor needs some more drugs for his ex-wife. And Tommy, he's going to make this man have a heart attack, and Proctor is still trying to convince him to chill out, that he has everything under control. But I'm not too sure that Tommy is convinced that Proctor is the man for the job. So then the following day, Proctor meets with Silver, and Silver is like, man, what in the hell have you got me into? And he told Proctor, that he can't represent Ghost if he has already represented Tommy, because that is a direct conflict of interest. So Silver may be good at what he does, and I think Proctor said that he's 3-1 in these drug kingpin cases. And so he's questioning what Proctor's true relationship is with Ghost and Tommy, because he is being teamed too much, and he's acting like a concierge, and whenever one of them calls, he drops whatever he's doing to go see about them, and he just wants to make sure that being on this case doesn't tarnish his name. So I think he's kind of conflicted, because he wants to fight the case because that's what he does and that's what he's good for and that's what he has his name for. But he also doesn't want to tarnish his reputation fooling around with these drug dealers and getting caught up in something he don't want to be a part of. So he says that these dudes aren't being smart, and he's concerned that Proctor, who he thinks is the smartest lawyer he's ever met, is all up their butt, and with a magnifying glass, and he just can't figure out what's going on. So Proctor and Silver go in to see Ghost, but before Silver arrives, Ghost tells Proctor about Tracy, and how he's extorting the money from him. So Silver comes in, but before they can get started, here comes this damn Angela. And she shows up talking like if Ghost pleads guilty to killing Greg, then she'll remove the death penalty from the case and try and get his sentence lowered. And I'm just like, girl, are you for real? Like, you are the reason that he's there. And he's looking at her like she's crazy. And then Silver is looking like, what the hell just happened? And Proctor is like, don't you pay attention to her. Don't listen to her. She is bluffing you. Don't go for it. And so I guess Bailey put the fear of God in Angela. Now she's trying to cover her butt. And then she, tries to play the sympathy role and talking about, she don't want to throw Tasha and the kids in the mix, but James is making it too difficult. And I'm just saying, spit in her face right now. Just spit in her face. Prohibit her from ever mentioning your wife and kids' names, because she has just got so much nerve and she is so dang annoying. So after she leaves, Silver is like, you should consider the deal. But Proctor is screaming, she's full of crap. She doesn't have the authority, to be giving him a deal. And so when they walked out, Silver was basically telling Proctor that as his attorney, he can't tell Ghost not to take the deal. He has to weigh the pros and cons and let it be his option, but he can't come out and say, don't take the deal. And so then Proctor tells him, Angela doesn't have the authority to offer a deal like that. And even if the feds wanted to offer Ghost a deal, they wouldn't have sent Angela to do it, because John is so arrogant and smug that he would have wanted to be the person that came in and laid it out on the table just to see Ghost's face, and how he responded to the offer. So Silver, he's kind of like still doubting and thinking that maybe it is a legitimate deal. And so he once again starts questioning Proctor's decision making and asking, who is he really representing? Is he representing Ghost or is he representing Tommy? And so I think he's concerned that he's really in Tommy's corner and he's going to give Ghost bad advice, in order to help clear Tommy's name. So this thing is just getting real crazy. So then on his way back to his cell, Charlie Murphy hands Ghost a newspaper with a picture of Raina on the front page, and they have the picture of her crying outside the school. And so he tells Ghost that he calls this bad parenting. So then Ghost drops the newspaper on the floor, and then when he gets back, to his cell, he calls Tasha and lets her know that he saw the article and he's sorry that all of this is happening. And so Tasha was home comforting Raina, because Raina's still crying and upset because she thinks her dad's gonna die, by lethal injection. And so Ghost tells her to put Raina on the phone, and I just felt so sorry for her. Like, this has to be so crazy for any child to have to go through, especially when they've led such a pampered lifestyle. And so he's apologizing for messing up and promises her that he's going to beat the charges. And and Tasha's just pissed off, and she's like, things are falling apart. I got to go see about my child. And when she said goodbye to Ghost, she said it with so much sternness that I'm thinking like, dang, did Tasha just give the final blow to Ghost? But I think we did see in the scenes for next week that she does go visit him at the jailhouse. But it was just so cold how she was like, goodbye, and hung up the phone. So in another scene with Proctor and Ghost, Ghost is blaming him for the media going after his kids and saying that, if he didn't do the press conference and try to play the race card, that the media wouldn't be seeking the kids. And then he also asked him about Angela's deal, but Proctor is like, you are not going to take that deal. We are going to beat this charge. And then he never, talked to him about whether or not he thought it was a good or bad deal, or tell him, that he found out how many years he was facing, because I don't think Proctor went and talked to John about that deal because he knew that Angela was bluffing. Then we move over to Tariq, and when he left school, he went to see Kanan. And I swear he is actually turning into Kanan. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe Tasha was messing with Kanan and that Kanan is really Tariq's father. So the way he's talking and walking and acting is like a mini Kanan, which is not a good look. And so, you know, his feelings are hurt because Tasha didn't tell him and Raina about Ghost facing the death penalty. And, you know, he's like, I don't understand, you know, why they're lying to us. And then Kanan, you know, he doesn't want to hear about the family problems because he needs Tariq to help him with the robbery that he's planning. Then it turns out that the home that they're robbing is Ethan, who's the head of the white boy bully gang at the school. And I'm just like, Tariq, you are so wrong for this, but I ain't mad at you, little boy. Get back at him, you know, for being such a butthole towards your little sister. And then next we have Julio, and he goes to visit Dre to let him know that there's too much heat on them and they need to stop selling drugs in the club. So he wants them to shut everything down. You know, but Dre is so greedy because he got to come up with that $45,000 a week to pay to Kanan, and he doesn't want to stop. So then the little Asian chick that Julio brought in, you know, to be watching over things, he tells her to leave the room, and then he talks to the other white chick and tells the white chick, you know, to keep stuffing the pills into the matchboxes, that they're going to continue on with the bottle service as planned, but don't let the other girl know about it, you know, because he knows that she'll go back and tell Julio. Then later on in the show, Dre goes to Tommy to let him know that Julio gave the order, you know, to stop selling the drugs. And then he also wanted to cast doubt on Julio by telling Tommy, you know, that they were pulled over by the feds earlier in the day. And Tommy's like, well, you know, it was right for you to tell me about that, but I already know. And then Dre is like, oh, well, did you know that Julio was there longer than I was there? And I'm just like, really, Dre? Why everybody ganging up on Julio? Why is Julio such a threat to Tommy and Dre? So Tommy basically tells him to keep running the drugs, you know, because they need the money coming in. So, you know, that was all Dre wanted anyway. So over at the courthouse, Judge Tapper's patience is running thin with the feds. And in the hearing to toss the DNA evidence, he's giving the defense a little leeway in the case. So Silver shows up at the last minute with video from the traffic cams over that area that shows when Knox actually stopped Ghost, so you see the whole scene playing out. And they also have phone records showing that both of their cell phones were pinging off the same tower near where the traffic stop took place. And the actual records from the phone tower shows the date and time that it actually took place. So Proctor evokes the Brady rule, which says that the prosecution can't withhold evidence that may be favorable to the defendant. And at first, Judge Tapper says that he won't throw out the DNA evidence, but will allow the video into evidence, and then they can like explain that it happened, you know, the night that Knox was killed and how they got the information and all of that. So Proctor then says that Angela knew about the stop and suppressed the evidence. And so the judge gets into the feds behind saying that, you know, he's going to allow the evidence in and also let Proctor tell the jury that they tried to hide it. But then John steps up and says that if they do that, that'll be prejudicial towards their case. And so he decides to drop the DNA, you know, from the evidence altogether. So, okay, that's one small step for mankind and a victory for the defense for Mr. James St. Patrick. After court, John goes to see Angela in her office, and he apologizes for not taking the info about the stop more seriously, and then he decides to put her back on the team and let her be either second or third chair. And then he feeds her head with all this BS. Like, I don't know why everybody is always kissing her behind and making her feel like, you know, she's the grand dame of everything. But he tells her that, you know, he almost forgot that she was the most valuable player on the team. And she was like, yeah, that's right. You know, you did forget that. And I'm like, oh my God, girl, will you please go somewhere and sit down? So then Tommy's party is up and popping, and he's ready to move on with the plan. So the feds are outside watching, and when the truck pulls off, the lady that was in the surveillance truck, in the surveillance van, you know, she was like, what's going on? What was that? But then the other guy's like, you know, that's not our concern. Keep watching the building. You know, we're here to keep an eye on Tommy. not on, you know, trucks moving in the area. So lo and behold, the truck reaches its destination, and Tommy was in the back of the truck, so he had escaped, you know, their surveillance. And he's meeting with Pata and his crew, along with Julio and his guys. And so they all seem surprised that Tommy was there, but Tommy tells them not to worry, that, you know, you can't trust everybody around you. So I'm still not understanding what Tommy is doing, but I'm thinking that maybe the drug shipment was already there and he was just stalling Pata. And he was afraid maybe that Pata was going to set him up when he got ready to deliver the drugs in the next day or two. So he's actually bringing the drugs now. But I guess we'll figure out next week exactly what this whole setup was about. So the show ends with Silver confronting Ghost about his life choices. And Ghost was basically telling him that, you know, they're the same person, but Silver is like, no, we're not the same person, because you're from the streets and you let the streets dictate the man that you became. Whereas, although I was, you know, raised in a two-parent home in the suburbs and everything, I used that to my advantage to make good choices. So don't ever think that we're the same person. And he basically tells Ghost that, you know, he's going to do whatever he can to get him off. And then he lets Ghost know that he knows the kind of man that he is, and that Ghost needs to understand that it's all about character, and he needs to accept that he is who he is. And so that's it for me, guys. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought about the show. Rate the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.